It's kind of cold here. Wait a minute. This isn't Dragon Spine. Where am I? What in Archon's name is that? Actually, that's a type of fae, just like me. How about that? And is it dangerous? Oh, that's just Lumi. Yeah, but I don't like the way that she's staring at me. Snezhnaya is right around the corner, and I'm mentally preparing myself for the frostbite.
Don't get frostbite.
You could say we're on thin ice, because the ice is about to break because Snezhnaya is almost here. But what better time to overanalyze all the information we have on this frozen region? And we're gonna start at the tip of the iceberg. Location, location, location. We love maps around here after all. So first off, where even is Snezhnaya as a whole located? Nordkrai is the southernmost part of it, so the likely way forward for the first patch is to head up in this direction. And actually, in the Snezhnaya train video, you can see two Fontaine mountain peaks in the background if you really squint. This is probably Mont Essus, so we know it's going to be here. Thus, I think it's more a case of how far does the region stretch? Is it all the way to Mondstadt? It certainly could be close, considering there is a trade route connection between Dornman Port and Port Belavodia. This is also where the trains come in. The Sreets has got to train hard to make sure those railroads make sense. I will be inspecting them, because it seems trains are going to be a very important part of exploring Snezhnaya. And aside from the train-gulation of Fontaine and Snezhnaya in the behind the scenes trailer, we can also see with this scene that there are 3 different railroads connecting to the city. There's even some civilization going on. And wait a minute, hold up. Are those trees? I didn't think they existed in Teyvat. I'm honestly so hyped to get an autumn looking sub-region though, with a tree enemy to boot. Aether, my guy, can we please get a new weapon already? You know what, close enough. We have also seen the main railway station for Snezhnograd, which looks stunning. So a core part of the identity of the Fatui and of Snezhnaya is power. And what better way to demonstrate that than the first place most people are going to arrive at. Each nation has their own motifs, and in the case of Snezhnaya, it is of course a snowflake. We see this on the ceiling with the blue glass, on the lamps, and right in the center, which is where your gaze is first meant to go, doubled with the fact that the sightlines and lighting are leading you up the stairs to remind you you're heading into a very powerful nation. The snowflake is not just decoration, it shows us that the authority of the Syriza and the crown is utmost. Also, don't these bits kind of look like Fatui hats? There's definitely influence from a few different train stations. It reminds me somewhat of Antwerp's Central Station, but there is also a huge St. Petersburg station influence here. But aside from those, there is also a clear inspiration taken from the Winter Palace. I also think heavy inspiration would have been taken from the history of the Trans-Siberian Railway in terms of running all the way through the entire region. From the 19th to early 20th century was when luxury trains were at their height. And you can see that influence in these trains, which is interesting because it gives these trains more of an elegant profile, hiding underneath it the cold industrial nature of Snezhnaya, which, well, makes perfect sense. This is the conceal don't feel region after all, and it keeps the visual identity of the nation coherent as well. But what other nation is known to have had advanced technology and has stars associated with them? Khaenri'ah. Both Fontainian and Snezhnayan tech have a degree of visual connection to Khaenri'ah tech, but I think with Snezhnaya especially you can see this because, well, stars. Snezhnaya is constantly being described as the most technologically and industrially advanced nation. Even if we were to time travel back to early Genshin, we always knew that Snezhnaya was very advanced. For example, we have Dottoro's lab in Liyue from Child's story quest, where he had converted some ruins into a ruin guard research lab. Also, does anyone want to tell this Dottore guy he's missing a few research labs? Both nations have a variety of autonomous war machines, vast networks and factories filled with machinery. They both share advancement with the same goal in mind, surpassing the gods. Earlier versions of Snezhnayan tech were much closer to the looks of Khaenri'ah, so we can only assume they've taken it, researched it, and adapted and advanced it to their liking. And another thing is the power that Khaenri'ah used, azosite, a type of elemental energy. So we can draw parallels here too, because we know they have a huge mine from the teaser, Snezhnaya, so it seems that these blue rocks are what they use to power things. Also remember, Felindus even mentions that they had trains in Khaenri'ah too, so food for thought. Then there's the Fatui. We know from lore that in Snezhnaya, they have a royal military academy, so it's likely we'll see this in person. According to this Oprichniki description, unlike their skirmisher cousins, Oprichniki officers almost all hail from the Snezhnaya Royal Military Academy, whether due to the privilege of noble birth or the rare talent to escape a common background. Back in the day, it used to be that only Fae could become these elite guards, and according to the description of this cruiser, it's also between the Academy and Fatui that combat doctrine and strategy is formed. And in Nodcry specifically, they make use of Kuvaki to power their weapons and machines, which also leads me to believe that this new power source in Snezhnaya will be what is used instead there to power the robots.
That dumb clanker.
The components that power these are mass-produced at the Royal Armoury Palace, but tying into this, we of course have the mysterious Project Stuja, and well, according to Columbina, it is tied to the word Misteltein, which is a sword belonging to Freyne from this Icelandic saga. Boy, it's really smoky here all of a sudden. Now, who do we know that also has this name, Guys, it's not Cope, okay? It's not. We've already gotten a few sneak peeks at Snezhnaya's capital city, Snezhnograd. Everything in Snezhnayan architecture points up, towards the palace and the stars. The city itself has a very blue, glowing, almost dreamlike atmosphere to it, which really lends it that sense of distant, icy beauty. Its architecture is like a mixture of the classic colours and onion domes of Russian Orthodox buildings. In certain places you can make out some pipes sticking out, heading all around the city to power it and warm people's houses. But what other buildings can we expect to unfold here? Do you mind? I'm trying to sleep. The central piece is Zapolani Palace. In the trailer they also show this building, which is most likely the opera where Odette and Vodyanista perform, and if we take a look at this shot from the other trailer, it's located here. The other prominent building on this side is Fatui related, but it could be either the military academy or a different building, Glupov. Outside of the capital, there are a few other settlements, and they all seem to rely on the system of Kresnik's torch. There are more Nordic winter towns. You can see this a bit in the image with the wooden house and its steep roof. Then there's Morpasok, a seaside village which we've literally known about since 1.1 when it was mentioned in Child's character story, as it's where he and his family are from. Novokiteshgrad is another city with a liquor and mining industry, and it is apparently where a large portion of Fae live. There's actually quite a bit of info on this one. Before this new city, the original Kiteshgrad used to be the capital of Snezhnaya and was established by the Belit Tsar, the first Cryo-Archon, so it's the first city of Snezhnaya, which I presume to mean after it became unified, Miskislav, king of the Beast Fae, united all the Beast clans and attempted to take over the city, but failed on 3 occasions. And after this war, the Belit Tsar was crowned, and Miskislav's skull was placed in Zapolani Palace. Kitesh probably also takes inspiration from a legendary and mythical city that is said to have been submerged underwater. And last but definitely not least is Port Belavodya. As I mentioned in my Dorman Port video, it is likely, given information from the bulletin board, that it's reachable from there, further up north somewhere. Now there's one other pretty major aspect of Snezhnaya that we have yet to skate over, the Fae. We already have quite a few in game too. There's the Lantern Fae, so Flins, the Augury birds, which are Linnea and Kalino. Also from Linnea's story quest is Viliana, a Snow Fae, who according to her are one of the most numerous types of Fae in Snezhnaya. And of course we can't forget Lumi, who is a Jack Frost Fae. And while she's called a Jack Frost, there are many different interpretations and folklore of this depending on region, but it generally originates as a kind of personification of winter. We already know of a few from trailers as well. Here we get a brief glimpse of a bear-shaped Fae, so these ones are most likely Beast Fae, or Volkodlak, like the king, Miskislav, and their looks do fit, as Volkodlak in Slavic folklore are a kind of werewolf, but the brief history of the Pale Starborn mentions 2 other types, water imps, and another type with a bovine-like appearance. But aside from that, we also see the Vila Fae. Vila Fae are essentially wind Fae, and we see that they also have fairy-like wings on their back. They seem to be the main members of the Druzhna, a faction of guards that serves the Tsaritsa, and we have a playable character, Vesna. Other than these, there are also household Fae, or Domovoi. In Slavic folklore, they are a household spirit that protects the house, especially animals and children, and, well, one particular character comes to mind. Linnea has also mentioned the Leshy. These are a deity of the forest, and we now know what they look like in Game 2 from the trailer. As well as sirens, which are a less common type of fae, I think we can infer from Linnea's voice lines and what we've seen in the trailers that Vodyanista is probably one of those, given her job, but I am very excited to see all these different variety of fae in-game. So anyway, after spending way too long talking about trains
Clanker.
and Capitano's sword, if there's one thing I know for sure, it's that Dragonspine's sheer cold is going to come back to bite us.